Hello, and welcome back to Conquering Finale. My name is Jason Lafredo, and today we are still in the Repeats Redux section. We are going to talk about the other repeat options that are available to us in the document options. So let me just zoom in here a little bit, and we'll go to the document options. And we're dealing with the repeats pane here. And mostly today I'm going to talk about the stuff that's in the top half of this dialog box here. I did talk about some of the other things like the show on and the repeat endings part in previous videos, so I'll sort of skip over those for now. But the rest of this really has mostly to do with the repeat bar lines themselves. And we do have some design options here, so I just want to kind of walk through what these are. So to start, we do have different wing styles. You may not even be aware of this, that Finale can do this. So, none is usually checked, so there's no wing, but we have the option for this curved wing, which I think can look kind of nice. It actually helps to, helps musicians see these a little bit better if you have that little winged thing there. There's also the single version of this, which just takes that thick bar line and just kind of puts it off at an angle above and below the staff. There's a double version of this, which will actually do it with the thick bar line and the thin bar line. I'm not as crazy about the double one, but I think the single one can be useful at times, depending on how your document, the document settings you have, or the fonts you're using. This might actually look kind of nice. For me personally, I usually use either none, or occasionally I will actually use the curved version. Particularly if I'm doing lead sheets, I like to use the curved version of the wing. It just helps the musician find where the repeats are. All right, so those are the options. Now, interestingly, there's nowhere in Finale to design these, so it's not like you can actually go in here and change the length of these wings or something. This is kind of preset for you. You don't have much options, other than the fact that with the single and double, and actually the curve to a degree, with the single and double wing styles, the line thicknesses will also apply to the wings themselves. So the heavy line thickness will apply to that, heavy line going off to the, off at the angle. All right, so that's the wings. And then we have a couple different back-to-back styles here. The thin is sort of set by default, and I think that's probably the most standard way to do this. So you have the dots, the thin bar line, the thick bar line, the thin bar line, and the dots. Obviously, this only applies when the repeats are back-to-back like this. But Finale gives us a couple other options. We have this mixed situation, which will give you, the dot, the thin bar line, the thick bar line, and then the dots again. Seems strange to me. I've never seen it look like this, but maybe there are editions that actually do this, so that option's available. And then there's the thick style here, and that will just do just that. You'll have the dots, and then two thick lines, and then the dots again. So you have three different options for the back-to-back styles. Now, I was curious about this, so I did check the Elaine Gould book, Behind Bars, to see what she had to say about the back-to-back styles. And according to her, the thin version here and the thick version are both acceptable ways of doing back-to-back repeats. She makes no mention of the mixed version of this here, so that's take for what it's worth. That's what her opinion on it. I kind of happen to agree. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to change it from the thin, but the thick could be an interesting alternative if you want. And then moving on from there, the rest of it really has to do with the specific design of the repeat bar lines and everything. Starting with the line options, we have the thickness for the heavy line, the thickness for the thin line, and then the space between the lines, which is this is all exactly what you would think it would be. And you can set these as you want. Now, my recommendation is to make sure that these values match the values that you see in the bar lines, because those three values appear for final bar lines and regular bar lines. So I would recommend matching them, which actually I don't think they do in this file. So let's actually fix that. So go to bar lines. Let's look at the heavy line thickness first. And for the regular bar lines, or this will apply to the final bar line, I have it set to this value. So actually, we just copy that and then paste it in here. There we go. It's interesting. I try and keep these the values in these documents that I'm showing you pretty close to the way that you would see them coming out of the box in Finale. But I did make a couple changes, particularly with the line thicknesses, because it helps you see them better on the video. So that's why some of these are just slightly different. Let's copy this one into the thin line thickness. There we go. And now this should match a little bit better. Yeah, it looks like my thin bar line is now matching my normal bar line, which is good. And space between lines, is that the same? Let's see. 04167. Yep. Yes, that one's good. So there's some options there. You can adjust these as you need to. And again, I just recommend making sure these kind of match what the bar line settings are. We have these settings for forward repeat spacing. Now this actually has to do with the space between the forward repeat bar and whatever comes before it. In this case, either the clef, the key, or the time signature. And clef, key, time is sort of the normal order that you would see them in music. So you'd see the clef first, the key signature if there was one here, and then the time signature. And so Finale will basically use whatever value or whatever element is last, and then use that value. It's not like Finale is going to add these values together to put that forward repeat bar. In the very first bar, we have the time signature to deal with, so it's this last one here. So if we actually change this value to something significantly higher, you'll see that forward repeat bar line would give you a lot more space there. And we can do that with the key signature and the clef too. The clef is going to be like in your normal staff here with no key signature. We can change that, and you can see that it would get farther away. So you can change those values as you need to, but that's how that works. Space between dot and line is literally that. It's where these dots go horizontally. And there's two values here for the forward repeat bar and the backward repeat. And the way this works is that positive numbers get farther away, so that direction is actually different in the forward and backward. So with the forward, a larger number would go further to the right, and with the backward, a larger number would go further to the left. So you can see if I change this to 0.2 here, it's going to change where those repeat dots are in relation to the bar line itself. And you'll notice that it doesn't change the backwards repeat because I didn't change that value. So that's how that works. There is a vertical dot adjustment for the upper and lower dots here. Now this literally has to do with where the character sits on the staff between the lines. Actually, if you zoom in really far, the goal here is obviously that these dots need to be centered between the lines. And Finale gives you the opportunity to change the value a little bit. In fact, if we just do something like, let's do something crazy here, like 0.02 positive, you'll see that upper dot get much too high. There's not a whole lot of reason to change this other than maybe if you change the size of the dots or change the characters of the dots, that using a different character may affect how it centers in the line. So you're given the opportunity to help that out a little bit and adjust those values. Or speaking of those repeat dots characters, we do have an option to actually change the repeat dot character itself. So we can select this button here, and this will pull up the font character set for the Maestro font in this case, and you'll see that there is a character for the repeat dot, and it's simply a dot. And interestingly, we can literally choose any of these characters if we really wanted to. If we want to do something stupid like use the N here, we could actually do that and get something silly looking like that. Again, I guess this would only be useful if you're using a unique font and you need to point the Finale in the correct direction to get to this character within the font set, because some music fonts, particularly if you're using third parties, may not use the same slot for every character. So you have the option to select the correct one here. And speaking of that repeat dot character, the font for that, or the font setting for that, is found in the fonts pane here in the notation section here. All the way here we have the repeat dot, so we can actually change the font of the repeat dot itself if you want to choose another music font, probably, or actually you could choose a text font and find the period, I suppose, do the same thing. But you also have the opportunity to change the size. So if you wanted a much smaller repeat dot, you could do that here, and you'll see that the repeat dot will get a lot smaller. Now, as you can kind of see, when you do make them smaller and zoom in a little bit, it doesn't well, it's pretty close to center. So, you know, occasionally you might need to change that those vertical values that I showed you just before. Now, interestingly, it is possible to actually change which space the repeat dots go on, but this is sort of a staff by staff option. So the place to find this is actually in the score manager on any given staff. Again, you'd have to do this, you know, for whatever staff you want. Where it says staff standard 5 line, what we can do is choose other, and this will allow us to sort of customize the look of the staff. And believe it or not, there is an option for the repeat dots. In fact, we can actually uncheck them and you'll see them go away. So, or you can just have one of them. I mean, this is like an incredible amount of flexibility that Finale provides. But we could also change this value here. So instead of -3, if we make that -1, it's, I don't know if you can see that, but the repeat dot now goes in the space between the top and the second to top lines there. And we can do the same with the bottom. If we make that -7, it will get put spread out like that. I mean, there's no, you know, there's no really any good reason to do this for normal 5-line staff. The usefulness of this is a little bit more related to tab staffs, where you may have, like, you know, 6, 7. If you have a special kind of tab, 8-line staff or something, you may need to kind of make a decision about where those repeat dots go. This is where you would do it if Finale hasn't done it in an acceptable way automatically for you. But again, this is the setting for exactly where those repeat dots go in the staff. All right. And then one more option I want to talk about within the repeats pane here is right below where the repeat dot character is. We have maximum repeat passes. Now, in a few of the previous videos, I talked about the possibility of accidentally creating an infinite loop repeat. It's not actually possible because Finale will respect this maximum repeat value that's set in this document option. So you really don't have to worry about creating an infinite loop. It's impossible because in this case it will never get repeated more than 20 times. You can change this value to whatever you want. If you really want to repress that possibility, you can actually change this to 4, and you'll never hear that a repeat happen more than 4 times. Or if you really want to hear it, you know, 1,000 times, I suppose you could put in 1,000 there, but that's up to you. And then as far as everything else in this window, I've definitely touched on all of these things, particularly the show on. I've discussed in the repeat endings and the text repeat videos. I believe that's 18.2c and 18.3c, so you can check out those to see more about this. Same with the period after the number. I talked about that in the repeat endings. And then there's a whole other window here for repeat ending settings, which I did cover already in the repeat ending section 18.2d, I believe. So other than that, that's the options that are available for the repeats. Again, most of these have to do with the repeat bar lines themselves. So that's what we're dealing with. And yeah, that's it. So hopefully this has helped. Come back. We've got a few more videos on a few specific things having to do with repeats, including, you know, mid-system coda systems, which is a little bit tricky, and mid-bar repeats. So come back for those, and I think one more after that. So, all right. So thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you soon on the next video.